Okay, so here is my ID. Here are my 3-note cards. Here's around the room. I have things plugged in, so let's just be careful. Okay. And the audience is my classmates from Speech 101, and that would be Bella, Morgan, Latre, and Damia. And then, okay, so I guess to start, I'm going to involve the audience immediately, and I'm gonna see, do you guys know, can you visually tell me what that song is right off the bat? No? So, well, can you guys tell me the song when I play it? Does everybody know it now? So it's pretty crazy that there's a vast majority of people that aren't able to read music. But, of course, because the majority of people listen to music, they're able to hear it through auditory perception and be able to know exactly what it is or be able to recall their favorite chorus from a song, but they aren't able to read it on paper. So today I'm going to pretty much teach you guys the very basic way to read a staff with a treble clef, to just kind of get the basic fundamentals of why and how music works the way that it does. It's relevant to you guys because music is a universal language and everybody listens to music, even though some people like other music and other people don't like other music. Cultures have different varieties in how they do music as well, but I think it's very important to kind of know the basics of what you are listening to. My credibility would probably be the fact that I'm going for music therapy, and to do that I have to obtain my associate in arts. And with that being said, I have recently taken quite a lot of musical classes, and so I think that with fundamental classes and whatnot, I have went through them and passed them with A's, and so I think that I have a little bit of credibility there. Also, I have been in vocal performing for a lot of my life, and so with vocal performance comes the ability to, the necessity to be able to read music that is just written down on a staff. So you have to know where the pitches and the notes go and how they should sound. So my thesis would be, we should all have a basic understanding of music because it is very relevant to all of us. So for my first source, this woman her name is Helga Gudmundsdóttir, and she is a music education professor at the University of Iceland. And on December 2010, she published an article called Advances in Music Reading Research. And she stated that a lot of people think that it's a misconception that people have the natural ability and are born with being able to read music, but it's all about the fact that individuals put the time and the effort and a lot of practice into being able to read music. So it's a misconception that people think, oh, they're better than me. It's just because they've practiced more. So to really quick start that off, I'm just gonna, there are 5 lines on the staff and 4 spaces. So if you guys can see, the notes for this, the lines have an analogy that goes with it. So this is E, G, B, D, and F. And the analogy we use is every good boy deserves fudge because we all like chocolate. And the spaces here have F, A, C, E. And the analogy is the word itself. The spaces have faces. So that's kind of an easy way to remember where the corresponding notes are on the staff. My second source would probably be my grandpa. My grandpa is actually a choral conductor in Chicago, and he works for quite a lot of churches. he does a lot of composures, rewrites a lot of different composers, and he always told me that if I was going to be bilingual, that I should learn the language of music. And so it's actually, it looks a little confusing here, but as soon as I break it down right here, the alphabet for music is just A through G. It's just A through G, and it just keeps repeating itself higher, which corresponds to the sound, the pitch that you hear, and then the lower it is responds to how low the pitch is that you hear. So it seems a little less intimidating when you realize that it just continues to repeat itself. And that was something that was published from an article in June of 2014 on how my grandpa would compose rendition and compose Bach cantatas, and that is, a Bach cantata is, it is consisting of 200 different individual pieces of music all into one. And so he had the opportunity to be able to compose and conduct this in front of many, many people. So I do find him very credible, and that's probably, again, where I get a little bit of my music taste. The third point that I have would be, it would be that what we hear in a composure in a piece of music, it corresponds with how it's written. So you'd be able to tell, okay, if it's going up, the pitch is going to go higher, or it's going to sound a little bit lower, which depends on where it's at in the staff. So an easy thing to remember from my textbook, which was Costa and Payne, it was called Tonal Harmony, and it was published in February 2017, and it was about musical scholars that got together and put things in about how to compose music and how to understand the fundamentals and the theory of it. So with that, the treble clef circles around this right here, which is the letter G. So it's the second line, and that's the letter G. So if you ever forget, okay, I'm not going to remember any of these, I'm going to remember the every good boy deserves fudge for the lines and the face for the spaces, but you don't know where to put them. The easiest thing to remember, and hopefully that you take away from this, is every time you see a piece of music that has a fancy looking S like this, it's right on the G. So the treble clef is also called the G clef. So you can hold your bearings by remembering, okay, well, it circles around the letter G. So that is something that really helped me when I was trying to learn and read music. The conclusion that I have to make would probably be, again, I find it really important that people should kind of understand the basic knowledge of what they're listening to and how it fundamentally is put together, because it's actually not that easy to create music. And a lot of our music nowadays kind of consists of repeating choruses and the same thing over and over and over again. So it's definitely been simplified rather than back in the Baroque era and stuff like that. So it's actually pretty cool to learn how to read it and associate it with what you're hearing. If you guys can take away one thing, it would probably be the G note. It's literally circling the G note. So then you go G, and then A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and it's very simple. So it's an easy thing to learn. You just have to know where your bearing starts.